Professor Dr. N. Gunasekaran is Dean, Rajalakshmi Engineering College, Chennai. He has 40 years of teaching experience in the field of electronics and communication engineering. He has guided 6 PhD scholars and 3 MS program scholars. He has published 10 books and 10 monographs. He conducted more than 50 short-term courses, winter schools, summer schools, and faculty development programs. He received Best Project Awards twice for UG projects at state level through Directorate of Technical Education and at national level President of India Award for the project on telephone for physically handicapped persons.
Welcome to UGC lecture series on optoelectronics. So far we were talking on certain basic introductory topics. One is atomic structure, other is electronic structure. Well, fundamentals are really required, that is why we spend reasonable time in going through all those topics. Today we will be seeing a much more very important topic, rather I can claim the core of the whole subject, the semiconductor theory, because basically optoelectronics is a semiconductor electronics. The only difference, the semiconductor devices working under the optoelectronics involved with light. Otherwise, by virtue of their structure, by virtue of their working operating behaviors, they are all 100% identical to the basic semiconductor devices. So, it is very important to go into the very details of the semiconductor physics, without which we cannot proceed further. When you say semiconductor, the first thing coming to our mind is the bands that is appearing. We already mentioned about the bands, energy bands. Whenever electrons are acquiring energy, it goes into a higher level. In fact, the energy band diagram itself is an imaginary concept. When electrons or any charged body acquire energy, it moves. The input energy converted into kinetic energy or working energy. Well, that we are picturized by telling the carriers are going to higher energy level. So, by absorbing energy from external agency, the electrons are moving to higher level. If it is unstable in those higher levels, they will come back to the stable state. In fact, the basic level, the equilibrium level otherwise called, is always stable. If at all electrons are disturbed by external agency, it goes to the higher level, which is called absorption process, and being unstable it comes back to the original level, that is emission process. These are all we are enough mentioned in the earlier discussions. What is exactly the two semiconductors over which we are going to focus on? Though the optoelectronics deal with special semiconductors like a gallium arsenide, indium phosphide and so on, but there is nothing wrong in going to details of silicon and germanium. It is a silicon technology that is dominating for many decades till today. In fact, even if you focus on optical detectors, it is a silicon technology once again dominates. On certain reasons, we use other semiconductors like a gallium arsenide, indium phosphide and so on, because we want light as output. So, for that very basic reason, we are using other semiconductors. Otherwise, conceptually the understanding of silicon and germanium are the very essential. Now, how the crystalline structure looks like? Well, about the crystalline structure we have seen already, but just to have an idea, a crystal of germanium or silicon, it is something similar to any other structure with a basic fundamental unit getting repeated at various distances. It is something similar to that. So, what we are seeing is a germanium atom staggered in a sequential way, in a periodical way in a crystal, and you can see around the germanium atom, the central nucleus part, there are 4 germanium electrons are shown. In fact, they are all called valence electron, though germanium has got 32 electron overall, but all these diagrams are mainly focused on the valence electron. Now, you can see germanium, 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 all these circles are shown as a germanium, and what is written 4 4 in this diagram, there are 4 valence electron which are all going to participate in the binding activity. So, these germanium atoms are together because of this sharing business. Array of germaniums are shown in a crystalline structure. A crystalline structure nothing but periodic repeated configuration of a basic block. What is a basic block? A germanium atom is at the central point surrounded by 4 valence electrons. When I say 4 valence electron, it does not mean germanium has got only 4 electrons, it has got 32 electron, but we are focusing only on the outermost orbit, because it is the outermost orbit that is involved in the bonding operation. So, you can see an array of germanium atoms arranged in such a way that 4 outer valence electrons are involved with the bonding operation, thereby they get the solid structure. Now, you can see the 4 electrons shown, they are all called valence electron as it is shown, and the type of bond between these atom, it is called covalent bond. So, what we are seeing, germanium array of atoms bound together by means of valence electron through covalent bond. Well, this is a little more general structure. What we have seen, a very specific structure of germanium. In general a crystal is nothing but an array of fundamental building block, and it is a binding force between the atoms. They provide the shape and size of the object. We can also visualize the same philosophy by another type of diagram. Here what is shown by means of springs, they are the binding force. Once you say electrons are surrounding the atom, please never have an idea they are all very 100% immobile, they are all in mobile state, they are all in a vibrational position. The vibration comes because of the thermal energy always there. So, they are all slightly in a random vibration. When you say vibration, it is a negligible invisible vibration, but they are in vibrating mood. So, when they are vibrating, of course, within the binding forces, and they try to share their force with the neighboring atom, thereby a shape is achieved. Now, let us understand electrons are shared. It is a sharing of electron that leads to the bond, and thereby the basic structure of each material we are able to see it. Now, when you say electrons, atoms are surrounded by electrons in various shells, and we are focusing only on the outermost shell. The electrons involving with the binding force, they are only the outermost shell electrons, hence they are called valence electrons. The inner electrons are very much intact, and they are all attracted by the nucleus of the atom itself. The outer shell involve the coupling process, and when atoms are closely spaced, these coupling force involves the rigidity or the togetherness of the material. And please remember, the number of electron we are talking about, it is a order of 10 power 23. Well, in all these subject, what is very important is these figures. These figures are very close, and one has to visualize. 10 power 23 is not a small number. Most of the figures what we are going to talk in this subject, they are all in the range of 10 power 13, 10 power 20, 10 power 23 of that order. And again, what is the size of the electron? That is invisible practically. The electron size is invisible, and the number of electrons are very big number. So, together if you combine these two concepts, Though overall they visually looking very small, the number of electrons are very huge number. If you see these electrons, when they come together, when electron is separate, as in the case of gaseous states, their behavior, their energy levels are different. When energies are brought together, when electrons are brought together, these energy levels try to interact. That is the first part we are bringing in the energy band diagram philosophy. Whenever electrons are brought closer together, technically we call it as interatomic distance. Interatomic distance, when it is brought smaller and smaller, that is when atoms are brought closer and closer, as in the case of solid state. We are talking about solid state, liquid state, gaseous states. When you come from gaseous to liquid, liquid to solid, the interatomic distance practically brought down to 0. Under such situation, there is full interaction between the electrons of one atom with the electrons of other atom. That leads to a very interesting theory of the bands. What you are observing the diagram is a very interesting diagram and very common diagram, which most of you should have seen in your even at the school level. Now, you can see the diagram shown between energy, the vertical axis, the interatomic distance is the horizontal axis. This is expressed in angstrom unit 10 power minus 8 of a centimeter. Now, you can see the energy levels are discrete, quite separated when the interatomic distance are reasonably large. That is the case of gas state. When interatomic distance brought down gradually to 0, that is the case of an atom. You can see there is a merger of the energy levels of various electrons with the other electrons, thereby there is a band involved. In other words, the energy levels are becoming indistinguishable. When atoms are brought down to 0 distance, the energy levels are overlapping. The overlapping of energy leads to a band. But also remember, Pauli's exclusion principle says every electron has got its own unique energy level. Every electron has got its own unique energy level. No two electron will occupy the same energy level. If that is acceptable, a 10 power 23 electrons in a centimeter cube, if you try to visualize the energy levels, definitely this band diagram is very obvious. When atoms are brought together with a density of 10 power 23 electrons per centimeter cube, and we expect every electron supposed to occupy one energy level, then it will end up with a band of energies. That what we are observing. So, the point to be remembered, whenever interatomic distance is brought to almost 0, then the energy bands of individual atom or electron fails, disappears, and it is merging with each other and they form a band. But something more here, the bands are not together in one stroke. You can see the bands, if you see the right side, the right sides are discrete energy E1, E2 and so on, but you come to the left side where atomic distance brought to 0, the merging of bands taking place, number 1. Number 2, there is a band on the above part of the diagram, there is a band at the bottom part of the diagram, and in between there is a gap. So, this gap is called energy gap. So, there is an energy gap also formed where no electron can occupy any energy level. So, a conduction band on the top portion of the band, a valence band at bottom portion of the picture, and in between there is a gap called forbidden gap or energy gap. This is the basic structure of a solid which is having enormous electrons. So, with this energy band diagram in our mind, we have to go with the characteristic of the semiconductor. Please remember what we said, energy levels are the levels where electrons goes from one level to another level by acquiring energy. Now, here what we are showing, band of energy is separated by a gap. That means an electron from one band, if it has to go to the another band, from lower band to the upper band, if it has to go, it requires a minimum amount of energy to cut across a gap called energy gap. We will have a very short break and continue. Welcome you after the break to continue our discussion. We were talking about the energy band diagram. The energy band diagram is a heart of the all semiconductors, and we will be focusing on silicon and germanium, the two popular semiconductors, from where we will be deviating to other optical semiconductors at a later stage. Now, as we just now said, there is a merging of energy bands when you bring the interatomic distance to 0, that what you are observing, thereby the discrete energy levels becoming band of energy levels. That is number one observation. Number two observation, there is a band called valence band at the bottom, there is a band called conduction band at the higher side, and in between them there is a band called energy gap. This energy gap where no levels are occupied. Please remember, energy gap is a region where no energy levels are occupied. In fact, it is called forbidden gap. Energy levels are prohibited to occupy. That means, electron assume energy should go from bottom band to the top band, not anywhere in between. Hence, it is called forbidden gap. So, 3 points we should remember: there is a conduction band and there is a valence band, there is a forbidden gap. These are the basic building structure of band gap about any electron or any semiconductor object. Now, one more point also I want to tell you why this merging takes place. I can give an example and come back to that. The same energy gaps can be further highlighted. This diagram actually shows much more details. You can see lot of energy levels are shown in the conduction band, lot of energy levels are shown in the valence band, in between there is a 0 state. So, the energy diagram remains quite unchanged as far the valence band and conduction band is concerned. It is only varying in intensity, that is all. Otherwise, electrons acquiring energy going to higher level, that theory remains unchanged. Now, what I want to really impress you, there is a basic parallel theory which most of you should have come across, that is what is called resonance circuit. A resonance circuit is a circuit which is showing a very clear resonance. That means, a resonance means the curve shows higher gain for a very short range of frequency and practically no gain on the rest of the frequency. That is called frequency response curve or resonance curve. Now, you can see there are two curves are there, 1 and 2 curves are there. Each curve correspond to a RC or LC resonance circuit. Preferably we can say it is an LC resonance circuit showing a higher frequency response. Now, what is very important is when these circuits are quite apart, I am taking LC circuit, find the resonance, plot it. I take another LC circuit, find the resonance, plot it. So, there are two plots are there. So, physically two circuits are apart, and graph wise also I can show two resonance circuit reasonably apart. Now, when I bring this resonance circuit physically very close to each other, almost at touching distance, thereby there is a possibility of energy coupling from one resonance circuit to another circuit. What we are talking at the micro level, atomic level, the same thing what I am talking at the macroscopic level. When two resonance circuits are brought close to each other, there is physical coupling, maybe Faraday's philosophy coming to picture, the induction effect, and because of the coupling you can see the resonance curve getting coupled and you can see a band. Please appreciate, because we may not be able to appreciate this at the atomic level, but this we can conduct the experiment in the laboratory and see it. This is one of the basic experiment in the electronic circuit. So, when two resonance circuits are brought close to each other and there is a coupling of energy, and that coupling is reflected on the frequency response by broadening the response curve. Broadening of the response curve is an indication of proximity of the two circuits. It is very identical concept of broadening of the energy levels. The broadening of the energy levels is very similar concept when atoms are brought close to each other. So, if one cannot appreciate much about the atomic broadbanding, at least one can appreciate the broadbanding of the electronic circuit. One can help the other to visualize. Now, let us go into the detail of the what is the band, what is the meaning of these things. Whenever electrons are normally available at room temperature, this is occupying an energy, or it is having some energy that correspond to valence band. All electrons under room temperature or at a very low temperature, they are all occupying bands correspond to the valence band. Once they acquire energy either by thermal source or by external applied energy, they get promoted to the next level, which we call as a conduction band. That means the energy required to cross this gap is that what is called forbidden gap energy or gap energy called Eg. Eg stands for gap energy. If the gap energy is achieved from the external helping, the electrons can go to the conduction band. Why it is called conduction band? The conduction band is named because electron becoming more conducting, electrons becoming enjoying more freedom to move around. In fact, if you remember all our energy, that is why we spend lot of time in energy electronic structure or energy structure. There also we said the very same thing. As electron gaining energy, it gets more freedom, it move around between atom to atom itself. Earlier it was within the control of one atom, it is around the nucleus. The moment electrons are acquiring energy, it is free to move from atom to atom, thereby the conduction of electricity, the conduction of energy comes into picture. The same logic. Initially the electrons are in the lower band called valence band. Why? Please you appreciate the names are given beautifully, which has got practically all the meaning. Valence band is a band where all the valence electrons are occupying, and most of the valence electrons are still within the control of the nucleus. The moment energy is given, energy acquiring either by thermal source or externally applied voltage, then the electrons are crossing the band. The minimum crossing is the gap itself. Once they cross a gap, they are in the free state. That is why it is called conduction band, a band where conduction is promoted, where conduction freedom is given to the electron. So, they move, thereby this leads to what is called the conduction of current or electron. Now, this is more clearly explained by this diagram. You can see there is a band at the lower end called the valence band, and there is a band upper side called the conduction band, and they are separated by a gap called Eg, energy gap. We will not go into the detail of the applied external voltage. Let us assume what is available by nature. By nature the energy available is thermal energy. We are only comparing energy at 0 degree, what is the energy at room temperature. For all our basic talk, we will only comparing these two status at 0 degree Kelvin, at room temperature. So, at room temperature the energy is reasonably good, so that electron try to go to the higher level. When I say higher level, I mean only the conduction band. Whenever electron goes to the conduction band, please follow the diagram. When electron goes to the conduction band, it leaves behind its vacant seat. Very simple logic. When electron goes to the next band, it has already occupied a position in the valence band, that it is leaving and coming to the conduction band. The seat which was occupied by this electron, now it is kept vacant. that vacant seat we are going to call as a hole. So, an electron going to the conduction band occupy another position, at the same time more freedom to move, at the same time it leaves behind an empty seat which we call as a hole. We are going to prove very shortly. The electron going to the higher level also moves because now it has acquired freedom by acquiring energy. At the same time that going to be a conduction in the lower band also, because there is always a tendency, the empty seat always try to be occupied by the neighboring atom in the same valence band. So, no hole will be kept vacant all the time, the vacancy is only very momentary. So, it is immediately occupied by an electron from the neighboring atom. That part of the conduction of hole, conduction of electron, we will just postpone for some more time. So, what is the point is, electron in the valence band acquiring energy goes to the conduction band, number 1. Number 2, the electron going to the conduction band is also mobile. The electron which is leaving a vacancy in the valence band is also going to be mobile. That means, we are going to account for two currents, one the electron current and other the absence of electron which we called as a hole, and a current due to that is called hole current. So, there are two currents we are going to discuss throughout the semiconductor topic, which was not there in the metal. In metal we were talking only about the one current which is the electron current, and the counterpart we almost treat is a immobile one. So, in metal we talk about electron current alone. In semiconductor we are going to talk about two currents, one is electron current, other is a hole current. Now, as we said, these electrons are acquiring energy, go to the high level, and being unstable the electrons are coming back. Now, this terminology we already used long back. When electrons absorbing energy goes to the high level, that is called absorption process. The other one being unstable, the electrons are falling back, that is called recombination or emission process. Absorption, generation, recombination, emission. These two processes are already got familiarized to you people. Now, how materials are classified? How materials are classified? Based on their conductivity. Materials are classified under various grounds that we have seen already: atomic structure, electronic structure. Even based on those concepts also materials are classified. For example, gas, liquid, solid, those are classified under one category. Conductor, now we are going to classify the material on the basis of conductivity property of the material. So, there are three group we call it as, one is called the conductor, the second is called the insulator, the third is called semiconductor. Conductor, by the very name, as I was repeatedly telling, most of the times the names are wonderfully coined, in which all the meaning are inscribed. Conductor is a medium where conductivity is the highest, insulator is a medium where the conduction is the lowest, semiconductor is a medium where conduction is 50% between that and this. So, based on the conductivity, when you say conductivity, it is equal to saying availability of free electrons. So, conductor means free electrons. Free electron means energy input always there. Energy is given as a input, electrons are becoming free, contributing to the current flow, hence the medium is called conductor. In insulator, electrons are strongly bound to the nucleus, they are unable to escape, no conductivity. In between there is another medium called semiconductor, where the conductivity property or the resistance property of the medium is in between the insulator and conductor. We are interested in semiconductor. Why? The conductivity of the conductor is fixed, the conductivity of the insulator is fixed, but conductivity of the semiconductor can be varied. That is a crucial point. The conductivity of the semiconductor can be varied. This varying conductivity we are going to exploit for the new devices, that what we are going to say. Summarizing what we discussed today, our main focus on semiconductor theory. What are the two popular semiconductors used in electronics, namely the silicon and germanium? What is the crystalline structure of a germanium? When the interatomic distances are brought almost to 0, what about the bands? How the bands are getting changed from discrete to continuous? And what is the total energy band consist of? The three major bands, the conduction band, the valence band and the Fermi gap. Based on this particular energy band diagrams or energy band classification, how materials are classified, namely the insulator, the conductor and the semiconductor. And what is more important, only the conductivity of the semiconductor can be varied. We are going to see that the conductivity can be varied either by the input of thermal energy or by doping. So, it is the main variable is conductivity, and this variable leads to the fabrication of many electron devices, including optoelectronic devices. There are few questions for you to think about, though we discuss the answers in detail. What are discrete and continuous bands of energy? So far we were talking about the discrete energy, how the sudden entry of band of energy come into picture. What are the two popular semiconductors which were quite popular, which are very popular, which will be popular in future also? How the crystal structure of germanium appears? What is the interatomic distance? What is its impact on the energies? What are conductors, semiconductors and insulators? Please think about it. We already discussed. Any more clarification we will have in our next meeting. Thank you very much.